I was drowning in the familiar half-light of the security room, its steel walls drinking in the weak luminescence from my bank of monitors like a black sponge. The screens flickered with their endless relay of corridors and tunnels. Tunnel Network Alpha, they called it officially, but we who were condemned to watch it had other, less charitable names. Each monitor showed the same soul-crushing tableau: oppressive darkness, the monotonous geometry of subterranean passages, the occasional guttering emergency light. Through the viewport behind me, Mars waited, a dead, rust-colored skull leering at the stars, while the void beyond pressed against the glass like a predator studying prey. I had forgotten, truly forgotten, the symphony of Earth, birdsong, traffic, wind through trees. My world was now the hum of life support, the whisper of data streams, the terminal's constant, maddening drone. Station Alpha was a tomb we had carved into the Martian bedrock, a monument to humanity's folly and ambition. Tonight, the tomb was empty. The entire staff, 50 souls, scientists and engineers and the damned, were sealed in their habitation modules, lost in drug-induced sleep or whatever passed for dreams on this dead world. I had drawn the night watch, the graveyard shift in a literal graveyard, and the brass was light years away, tucked safely in their orbital stations or Earth's green cradle. I was alone with the cameras and the silence. I must have been drifting, my consciousness slipping into that gray space between waking and sleep, when camera 66B caught my eye. It shouldn't have. Nothing ever moved on level 4, the deepest stratum of our burrow, where the old mining operations had tapped into veins of ice and terror. The camera was positioned in a forgotten branch tunnel, a place we only checked during inspections. But there it was, a figure, human-shaped but wrong, like a memory of a man filtered through nightmare. My security nest perched on the surface, controlling the main personnel airlock. The research zones, the labs, the tunnels, all of it lay beneath tons of red stone and permafrost. Camera 66B was the deepest eye we had, staring into the bowels of a planet that hated us. I rubbed my eyes, thinking it was a trick of fatigue, a phantom spun from loneliness. But the figure remained, standing, waiting, not moving. I punched the feed from 66B onto my central monitor, the image expanding to fill my vision. The resolution was poor. That camera was ancient, its lens scratched by Martian dust storms, but I could see enough. The thing wore a shape that suggested humanity, but its head lolled to one side, resting against its shoulder at an angle no living neck could sustain. Where eyes should have been were only voids, two absolute pits of blackness that seemed to drink the camera's infrared light. It stared directly into the lens, directly at *me*, and I felt the temperature in my security room drop 10 degrees. It wasn't a worker who'd fallen asleep. It wasn't anything that had ever been human, not truly. The skin was corpse-white, stretched taut over a withered frame that seemed to be collapsing into itself even as I watched. Growths, no, tumors bulged beneath that parchment flesh, pulsing with a slow, sick rhythm. It looked like a mummy that had been soaked in radiation and hate, then left to dry in the Martian wind. My hand trembled as I reached for the cyberlink, the neural interface that could connect me to headquarters on Phobos Station. The white static hit me like a sledgehammer to the frontal lobe, a concentrated blast of pure, screaming noise that felt like it was cooking my synapses. I tore the helmet off, gasping, my vision swimming with afterimages of agony. 20 minutes I hunched over, vomiting into the waste recycler, while behind me the monitors hummed their indifferent song. When I could finally see straight again, I looked up at the screens. Camera 66B showed only the empty tunnel. The thing was gone. My relief curdled into something worse when my eyes found camera 45A level 3, the exit from the old quantity surveyor's shaft that led up from the mining depths. The figure stood there now, in exactly the same pose, head cocked, eyeless sockets fixed on the camera. It hadn't walked. It hadn't moved. It had simply been somewhere else. The radios were dead. The email system vomited back error codes. I tried the hardline to Phobos. Nothing but that hateful white noise, that sound like a billion insects screaming inside my skull. And on the monitor, the thing stood motionless for 30 minutes, a statue of plague and pestilence, while my hands shook so badly I could barely operate the terminal. Then the white static came, not through my headset this time, but across the monitor itself. It swallowed the image of the creature for 3 seconds. When it cleared, the figure stood in a different airlock, 1 level up. The timestamps confirmed it: 00:47:22 on level 3, 00:47:25 on level 2. It had ascended 3 meters of solid rock and steel in the time it took me to blink. I tried to seal the airlocks remotely. The system laughed at me, screens flashing Access DENIED in mocking red. I watched as the thing appeared in the level 2 corridor, standing beneath a flickering light tube that cast no shadow on its impossible form. It was coming for me, methodically, inexorably. Level 4, level 3, level 2, and above them all, level 1, where my security room waited like a final chamber in a slaughterhouse. There was a manual override, a physical lever that could bar the main tunnel gate on level 1. Old tech, EMP-proof, the kind of thing they installed when they still remembered that ghosts could walk through walls but not through 3 inches of titanium. If I could reach it, lock it, maybe I could trap the thing below. Buy time. Buy something. I armed myself with nothing but a maintenance wrench and terror that tasted like copper. The corridor from my security room to the main gate was 50 meters of naked fluorescent tubes and humming conduits. My footsteps echoed like bones rattling in a crypt. The gate's viewport showed only the tunnel beyond, lit by a single dying bulb that painted everything in shades of jaundice and decay. Nothing moved. Nothing breathed. The silence was so complete I could hear my own hair follicles screaming. I reached for the manual lock, my fingers closing on cold metal. The impact came from the other side of the gate, not a knock but a detonation. The viewport, supposedly rated to withstand micrometeorite impacts, spiderwebbed with cracks. A second impact and the center bulged inward, glass and polymer screaming in protest. What kind of strength, what unholy force could do that? The third blow shattered the viewport completely, and the air in the tunnel screamed past me, a hurricane of Martian atmosphere rushing to fill the void below. I didn't look. I couldn't look. I ran, my feet slipping on the trembling deck plates, back toward the surface exit, the emergency airlock that led to the Martian wastes. The suit hung there, ready, its helmet grinning like a skull. I had it half-zipped when I heard it, the sound of something dragging itself through the broken gate, a sound like wet leather and breaking bones, a sound that had no right to exist in a universe with rules. It was in the corridor with me, 10 meters away, 5. I knew what stood behind me. I knew if I turned, those empty sockets would swallow my sanity whole. Death by vacuum is a terrible thing. 20 seconds of consciousness as your blood boils and your lungs rupture, every capillary bursting in a red flower of agony. But death by that asterisk, by having that thing touch me, look at me, see asterisk me with those non-eyes, would be something infinitely worse. My hand found the emergency release. The lever screamed as I pulled it down. The outer door irised open, and Mars rushed in to claim me. The last thing I heard wasn't the gale of decompression. It was a voice, dry as Martian dust, whispering from a throat that had no business making sound. We have waited so long in the dark. We are so hungry for the light behind your eyes. The void took me before I could scream.